Welcome to a new module in our video training series, Umpire 101. This series is sponsored by the Utah High School Baseball Umpires Association in cooperation with the Utah High School Activities Association. In this module, we will cover lineup cards and related rules. I'm Paul Husselby, Rules Interpreter for the Utah High School Baseball Umpires Association. Thank you for joining us for this training module. Today we're going to review the NFHS rules governing lineups, substitutions, and courtesy runners, the designated hitter, and charged conferences. We will also cover best practices for maintaining lineup cards based on the rules we cover. Lineup cards are governed by rules 311, 413, and 711. Substitutions are governed by rules 236.1, 2, and 3, 311, 711, and 1023D. Courtesy runners are discussed in the speed-up rules on page 68 of the 2024 NFHS Baseball Rules Book. Use of two designated hitter options falls under Rule 314, and charge conferences are governed by Rule 341 through 345. We begin by looking at examples of standard lineup and game cards. This is the lineup card for head coach Rusty Hogg of the Bayside Battlin' Beagles of Brooklyn, New York. It is a good lineup card because it reflects the batting order with the uniform number, name, and position number of each starter in the batting order. Also, it leaves room for two substitutions for each position on the right side of the card. In addition, it lists the entire team roster with uniform numbers on the bottom of the lineup card. Of course, this lineup card is the exception rather than the rule. Often, coaches must write in the names of their substitutes, and they tend to do so in the section reserved for substitutions. Umpires have to do their best to work around that. In addition to the lineup card, some umpires use game cards, similar to the ones used by football officials. Game cards are not required, they are optional. Here is the game card created by our UHSBUA rules interpreter. It has a side for both home and visiting teams. It provides space for noting each team's charged conferences and speed-up runners. It can be folded in half for easy reference. The other side of the card provides a place for the plate umpire to keep track of the line score, just in case the scoreboard goes out, and a place to record warnings and ejections, if necessary. We covered the pregame conference in another training module, so we will not go into significant detail here. However, let's take a closer look at reviewing lineup cards at the plate meeting. After the umpires introduce themselves to the head coaches, the plate umpire requests and inspects the lineup card from each coach, home team first. A visual inspection should reflect that the lineup card provides the last name, uniform number, and position of each starting player, as well as the last names and uniform numbers of substitutes. Each team's lineup card should list the batting order. A pitcher must be listed among the starters. In addition, the lineup should adhere to one of three options: traditional DH, player DH, or straight 9. The plate umpire should verbally confirm which of the three options is being used. For example, the plate umpire might say, "So it looks like number 15 Brown is both the starting pitcher and the player DH in the 5 spot of the batting order. Coach Hogg, is that correct?" When a DH is used, the best way to clarify who the DH is batting for is to add brackets around both names if they are together on the lineup card. Most coaches add the fielder for whom the DH is batting at the bottom of the lineup card in the 10 spot. If that is the case, connect them with a line or an arrow. Even when a team uses the player DH option, it is a good idea to enclose that player's name in brackets. Be sure that the lineup restricts each defensive position to only one player. The lineup card should not reflect that number 8, Hall, batting second, and number 27, Shaw, batting ninth, are both playing left field. Similarly, the lineup card should not duplicate uniform numbers. If the lineup card shows that the left fielder, Hall, and the second baseman, Wilson, are both wearing number 6, this must be corrected. In both cases, check with the coach to clarify, and then make the appropriate correction on the lineup card. Finally, we should confirm with the head coach that all substitutes and their uniform numbers are listed on the lineup card. There is no penalty if a name and uniform number is inadvertently left off the lineup card. It can be added later. A common mistake is listing the starters among the substitutes. This usually happens when a team uses pre-printed lineup cards with the entire roster listed at the bottom. Before Coach Rusty Hogg delivers his lineup card to the plate umpire, he should cross out the names of all starters so that the only names remaining are the substitutes. If the starters' names are still present when Coach Hogg submits the lineup card, the plate umpire should take a few minutes and cross out the starters from the list of available substitutes. When the plate umpire is satisfied that the lineup cards are complete and accurate, he or she should say, "Coaches, the lineups are now official. Any further changes before the first pitch are subject to Rule 3, which governs substitutions." That provides a nice segue into NFHS substitution rules, which are fairly simple. First, a substitute can enter the game in place of a starter at any time, with the exception of the starting pitcher. The starting pitcher must face at least one batter unless the pitcher is injured or ejected. Second, a starter who has been replaced may re-enter one time. Third, when a starter re-enters, he or she must assume the same spot in the batting order. Fourth, when a starter re-enters, he or she may play any defensive position. However, if that position was previously occupied by a starter who is still in the lineup, that player must move to a different defensive position while remaining in the same spot in the batting order. Fifth, a starter who has re-entered the game can be replaced a second time by any eligible substitute. After being removed a second time, that starter may no longer re-enter the game. And finally, a substitute who has entered the game and been removed may not re-enter the game in any capacity. Let's practice recording substitutions on the lineup card based on the rules we just covered. Our first substitution will be number 49 Reed for number 6 Wilson. Looking at our lineup card, we see that number 6 Wilson is currently in the game and that number 49 Reed is an eligible substitute. To enter the substitute on the lineup card, we first cross out number 49 Reed on the roster to show he has been used as a substitute and cannot re-enter the game if he is subsequently removed. Next, we enter number 49 Reed on the top substitution line for number 6 Wilson. We circle his uniform number to remind ourselves that once he is removed, he may not re-enter. Now, suppose that number 6 Wilson re-enters the game. First, we confirm that number 6 Wilson is a starter who has not used his re-entry privilege. We know this because we did not circle his uniform number when he was replaced. Although some people suggest crossing out the name of a starter when he is replaced, we do not recommend doing so. However, if that same starter re-enters, we should circle his or her uniform number to indicate that once removed a second time, the starter may not re-enter. We also need to make sure that any returning starter goes back into the same spot in the batting order. So if number 49, Reed, replaced number 6, Wilson, in the 8th spot of the lineup, Wilson may re-enter only in that same spot. To show the substitution, we cross out number 49 Reed, which reflects that he has been removed. Next, we circle Wilson's uniform number to indicate that he has returned to the lineup. The circle also indicates that Wilson has used his re-entry privilege and cannot re-enter if replaced a second time. Now let's substitute number 18, Ward, for number 6, Wilson. Again, we see that number 18, Ward, is listed as an available sub, so we cross out his name on the roster and enter his name and uniform number as a substitute. Because he is a sub, we will circle his uniform number. Then we cross out number 6, Wilson, in the batting order to show that he is now out of the game and cannot re-enter. NFHS rules provide for courtesy runners in states that allow them. Utah does. The rules governing courtesy runners are listed on page 68 of the baseball rules book. They are fairly straightforward. First, the offensive team may use courtesy runners for the pitcher or catcher. If the offensive team bats around in an inning, the pitcher or catcher may still bat in his or her spot in the order. Second, the same player may not be a courtesy runner for both pitcher and catcher. Third, Position players who have participated in the game in any other capacity are ineligible to serve as courtesy runners. Finally, a player may not run as a courtesy runner and then be used as a substitute for another player in that half inning. However, if an injury, illness, or ejection occurs and there is no other player available, the courtesy runner may be used as a substitute. NFHS rules require the plate umpire to keep track of courtesy runners and report their entry in the game to the official scorer. So let's discuss how to use the lineup card and the game card to manage courtesy runners. Suppose our catcher, number 25, Parker, smacks a 2-out double off the wall in the first inning, driving in number 8, Hall. Coach Hogg sends in number 4, Irons, as a courtesy runner. The first thing we must do is confirm that Irons is eligible to enter as a courtesy runner. The roster reflects that he is an eligible sub. We enter a small dot next to his name to indicate that Irons has now served as a courtesy runner. Next, on the Beagles side of the game card, we enter Irons' uniform number 4 as a courtesy runner for the catcher. This is important because Irons is ineligible to serve as a courtesy runner for both pitcher and catcher. Suppose now that the next hitter is number 15, Brown, who is the Beagles pitcher. He hits a triple down the right field line, scoring Irons. Coach Hogg sends in number 32, Ross, as a courtesy runner for Brown. Again, we must confirm that number 32, Ross, is an eligible sub. His name is not crossed out on the roster, and there is no dot next to his name, so he is available. We enter the small dot next to his name on the lineup card. Then we enter his uniform number on the game card as the courtesy runner for the pitcher. Now let's suppose that number 27, Shaw, is injured in the second inning. He is replaced by number 4, Irons, in right field. As a substitute who has entered the game, Irons can no longer serve as a courtesy runner. When the catcher, number 25, Parker, gets another hit in the third inning, Coach Hogg sends out number 32, Ross, as the courtesy runner. Looking at the lineup card, we see that Ross has a dot next to his name on the list of eligible substitutes. That means he is already serving as a courtesy runner. A quick glance at the game card confirms that. We must inform Coach Hogg that a different player must be used as a courtesy runner. In the alternative, Parker can run for himself. Coach Hogg then sends out number 17, Moore. Moore's name is still on the roster, and there is no dot next to it, so he is eligible. After entering a dot next to his name, we enter his uniform number on the game card as the new courtesy runner for the catcher.